Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class. And as you can tell, today's episode is a little bit different because I'm not staying in front of the camera. Instead, we're just doing audio today. And the reason for that is because they're currently doing construction on our apartment, which means that if I did record in front of the camera, you would just be hearing nothing but hammering and drilling the entire time. So yeah, that's no fun for anybody. So I apologize for the weird format of today's episode. I apologize that all you're going to be looking at today is just a couple of still images, but as I said, there's not really much I can do about it, so yeah, sorry, it's just an unfortunate situation. However, it is still Wednesday. If I get this video up on time, which knowing me, I probably won't, but somewhere in the world, it is still Wednesday, so we're still going to do an episode of Comic Class. But this weekend is kind of a big deal for the comic book community because Miles Morales is making his cinematic debut in the Into the Spider-Verse movie, which is getting amazing reviews. I have heard people saying that this actually has a dark horse shot at getting an Oscar nomination, and not just for Best Animated Feature. Wow, I cannot believe the success that this has already been gained. I can't wait to go and see it. And when we do see it, we will do a review of it for the Post Geek Out Reaction, our weekly movie review show here. But in the comic book world, today is also kind of a big day for Miles Morales because his series is returning. And this is kind of a big deal because it's the first time that Miles has ever had his solo series not written by his creator, Brian Michael Bendis. In fact, Brian Michael Bendis was so tied to Miles Morales that when Brian Michael Bendis announced that he was leaving Marvel to go over to DC, I saw so many people asking, what does this mean for Miles? Which is, a question that deserves to be asked. I mean, his creator, the guy who would not let anyone else write that book forever, has finally left the company, so what did it mean for Miles Morales? However, I also saw a good chunk of people out there saying, so do you think that Miles is just going to go away forever? Do you think that they're just never going to use him again? Do you think he's going back to the Ultimate Universe? Do you think that they're just going to kill him so that nobody else can ever write him again? Comic book fans, listen, I love you guys, but it's okay to just chill every now and again. I know that the comic book community itself is constantly coming out here and telling you, oh, we're about to kill off this character and we're going to destroy everything and nothing is going to be the same ever again. But guys, how often has that actually stuck, or how often has that actually really meant anything? And I know it's not just the companies either. I know that all across the internet, there's so many clickbait articles and Twitter accounts and YouTubers out there who are constantly just telling the fans, everything is going to be destroyed. Don't love anything because everything will eventually end and just crumble into dust. Nothing means anything. So make sure that you click right here so you can find out how you can save that one thing that you love, because I'm the only person who can give you all the answers that you need to save it. And I'm sure that I contributed to that in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure that some of the blame is on my shoulders as well. I'm sure that I made a rant video at some point in time that someone watched and thought, oh my god, this person on the internet that I don't know is angry about a thing, so therefore it must be about to be destroyed and I should be terrified of it. If I have ever made anyone think that, I apologize, because guys, comics are a wonderful thing that we can all enjoy. There's so many amazing characters out there who are going to lead big, wonderful adventures, and they're going to continue those adventures in other ways. And when I just saw everybody out there just thinking that Miles is going to die or go away forever, he's gone, we're never going to get Miles again, it just made me have to take a step back and say, everyone, we just need to take a breath. Things are going to be okay. Miles is still going to exist. He's one of their most popular characters. He very quickly has become a massive iconic character in the entire industry. He has a movie coming out. Trust me when I say they're not getting rid of Miles. Okay, sorry for going off on a tangent there at the beginning of this video, but as I said, I saw those fears just sweeping across the entire comic book community, and that's something that we see a lot in the comic book community. Somebody gets freaked out about something online, and that just spreads like wildfire. So I just want everyone out there, the next time that you see something that makes you think, oh my goodness, this could be the end of everything, remember when you thought that about Miles? And how there was literally zero reason to freak out about that? Let's all just approach comics a little more chill. Let's all just be a little bit easier going about this stuff. Let's all just, I don't know, sit back and realize that every now and again, things are gonna be okay, so it's alright to just pick up a comic and just have fun with it. And you know what? Today, Miles Morales #1 came out, I picked it up, and I had fun with it. Now, this new Miles Morales series is being written by Saladin Ahmed, and he's the same guy who wrote the Black Bolt series, which was in our top 5 best comics of the year list last year. That book was fantastic. Saladin Ahmed blew up with that series. He's getting so much work now, and I gotta say, I've followed a lot of the other books that he's been doing, like Abbott over at Boom or his new Exiles book. Yeah, man, that guy was not just a one-trick show. It wasn't like Black Bolt was all he had. This guy is really freaking talented, so I was really intrigued to see what he was going to do with Miles Morales, and I picked this book up, and oh my gosh, it feels like a Spider-Man book, which is exactly what Miles Morales should feel like. And I can go ahead and let everybody out there know, this is an amazing jumping on point. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it. We constantly see comic books trying to create brand new jumping on points for their characters. And whenever I read one of those books, I try to judge how well I think somebody who isn't familiar with the character would be able to approach that book. This is easily the most new reader-friendly comic book I have read in a long time. It gives you every single bit of information that you need to know about Miles, compressed into a couple very simple to understand pages. It's only the necessities, none of the extra stuff, none of the fat, none of the fluff. Everything is just trimmed down to the essentials that you need to understand this character. And then the rest of the book is Miles now having to write in a journal because it's an assignment for one of his classes. So it's him really just having an excuse to let all of his thoughts out, to talk about what it's like in his everyday life. However, that's not the entire issue. The entire issue is not just, hey, here's my backstory, here's what I do day to day. It's also the start of a brand new adventure for Miles Morales. I actually think that Saladin Ahmed did a great job of balancing, here's Miles' backstory, here's the introduction to a brand new adventure that you can follow for issues to come. And as I said, this feels like a Spider-Man book to me, but it doesn't feel like they just took a Peter Parker story and slapped Miles Morales in there. No, you see, the thing that makes Spider-Man so unique and the thing that makes him so special to so many people is that he's the everyman. However, every everyman is not going to be the same. Every everyman will be unique, but what defines an everyman style of character is that he's someone that anyone can pick the book up and read, and on some level, be able to find some relatability in there. And when you see Miles at school, when you see him kind of getting to know his girlfriend and them trying to establish what their relationship is, and you see the relationship that he has with his parents, and you hear Miles talking about how exhausted he is and about how hard it is staying up all night and then having to go to class in the morning. Yeah, all that stuff is great. It does a wonderful job of establishing this character is someone that we can all connect to in some way, because we have all kind of gone through this sort of stuff. However, as I said, every man is unique, and this is definitely going to be a story that is unique to Miles Morales because he is talking about many real-world, current-day issues in this book. They're not stopping the entire thing to really put it all in your face. They're not coming in here and addressing issues directly straight to the camera. However, it is very clear that a lot of the things that he is going to cover in this first storyline are dealing a lot with our current political climate, a lot with the current immigration status in this country. There's a moment in which his mom is talking about how worried she is for the world, and she's talking about how many children have been detained or separated from their families, and she's talking about her fears about what would ever happen if that happened to her and Miles. And I love that moment because it was one of those things that made me look at Miles Morales and go, oh my goodness, for someone like Miles Morales out there, that must be an issue that is weighing constantly in the back of his mind. And I thought this book did a great job of bringing that up, and you can tell from the I'm not sure if they're the villains or if they're working for a villainous organization or what exactly is happening, but basically what gets revealed at the end of this issue, it becomes very clear that what Miles is going to be going up against is in some way going to tie into all of that. It's either going to be some kind of a metaphor in the comic book world that you can look at and apply it to the real world, or they might even get really bold with this one and actually address real world issues where this story goes. And here's the thing, this book really reminds me of 1970s Spider-Man. Because in the 1970s, Marvel addressed this stuff constantly, and because Spider-Man was their everyman, their character on the street, he would constantly just stop and talk about real world issues. So did so many of their other more street level heroes out there. And as I was reading this, as I was getting that relatability from Miles, as I was getting that everyman, that guy just trying to figure out life kind of vibe from Miles, and then when it comes to how they were able to very smoothly incorporate very modern real world issues into this book, I looked at that and went, this is exactly how it felt reading those old issues of Spider-Man. And you really get this feeling like Miles is just being overwhelmed by everything that he's seen in the world, and that makes him so human. I mean, who among us hasn't felt overwhelmed? That adds to his everyman feel. And again, that's how a lot of those books from the 70s would treat these kinds of issues. And I've actually seen Saladin Ahmed on Twitter reference tons of stuff from Spider-Man's history, especially from those 1970s to early 1980s years. So it's very clear that that's what he was aiming for with this series. And as somebody who has gone back and reread many of those old issues and fell in love with them, yeah, man, I think he's absolutely nailing it with this book. But there's something else that he threw in there at the end that I absolutely loved and made me really excited for where this book is going to go, because I don't know why Saladin Ahmed has an obsession with blue-collar, street-level criminals. Like, not the big masterminds, but just the average Joe, like right above being a henchman level of villain. He loves those guys because in his Black Bolt series, Black Bolt, this character who is a king of godly aliens living on the moon, who did he make Black Bolt's sidekick in that book? The Absorbing Man. Like this bruiser villain from the Bronx. That's who was palling around with Black Bolt in that series, and he gave the Absorbing Man so much heart and so much depth and made him one of the best characters in any book from last year. He absolutely blew me away with what he did with the Absorbing Man in that book. He made me actually a fan of the Absorbing Man, which is something I have never said in my over 20 years of reading comics. And at the end of this, the Rhino pops up. And the Rhino, I know that he actually has many different interpretations. He started off as a Soviet spy. Then when the Cold War ended, they were like, shoot, what are we gonna do with this guy? Make him one of those like street level, like Absorbing Man style blue collar villains out there. And then in recent years, Dan Slott has kind of leaned him back into his Soviet roots. Reading this, it was very clear Saladin Ahmed was leaning him very firmly back into that blue collar bruiser villain class that he used to be. And at the end of this, not to spoil too much, but it does look like, Rhino's not going to be a villain in this. Rhino and Spidey kind of have a common enemy in all this, and they're giving Rhino a little bit of backstory with his family in there about why he might have to team up with Spider-Man. And I looked at that and went, oh my god, are you about to give us Absorbing Man Part 2? The character who I absolutely loved in your Black Bolt run, are you about to do that same thing with the Rhino? Oh, if that's what you're doing, I'm absolutely down with this. I cannot wait to see who is the next schlubby street level villain that he is going to give a massive redemption arc to. So yeah, Saladin Ahmed, he did what he needed to do with this book. He introduced new readers to the character, he started a brand new adventure with him, he captured the tone of those old Spider-Man books that I absolutely loved, he threw in there a little spice of that Black Bolt book that he wrote that I adored so much. Yeah man, I am 100% in with this series, and the fact that the art is incredibly good and matched the tone of this book perfectly, that didn't hurt either. Javier Garron was able to give Miles a very fun, upbeat, youthful tone to it, but at the same time wasn't too exaggerated, so he still got that relatability, everyman vibe from it. But then whenever he needed to throw some action in there, he knocked that out of the park as well. As I said, it looks like Rhino and Spidey are going to be teaming up in here, but in the brief moment in which they do tussle, yeah, that is a really good looking fight in there. So yeah, absolutely love this book. Miles is in really good hands. I give this a big thumbs up. If you have never read a Miles Morales Spider-Man book before, this is a great moment to jump on. And I have a feeling that after this weekend, there's going to be a whole new group of audiences out there who are looking for a new Miles book to check out. This absolutely gets my recommendation for that. But let me know what you thought of the new Miles Morales Spider-Man book in the comments down below. You can also reach me on Twitter and Twitch at Professor Thorgy. And if you like this video, then make sure that you click that subscribe button because we do Comic Class every single weekend. And as I said, we will be reviewing Into the Spider-Verse this weekend. So make sure that you come back for that. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.